Fire ready for some gaucho style pot roast. Yeah, I think you're going to really like this. Okay, this fire's about ready to get knocked down. I cleaned the pit out real good before I started it, so it's going to be nice and deep. I'm going to knock them down and get ready for the next step, which is to lay the grill and rebar over it so I can put the Dutch oven on it and singe the meat. Okay, next step is I got the Dutch oven with a couple strips of bacon in it. And the coals aren't quite ready for cooking yet, but they're definitely ready to get this going. Get a little bacon grease and I can lube up the oven good. You gotta love that sound. We'll get these things a little crispy, save all the juices, and probably take the bacon out and maybe chop it up into some stuff for something else later. Okay, this is starting to brown up real nice. I think I'm actually going to probably save this to put in with some chili I made the other night. But then you got to be careful. If you got one of these around, what do you think, pup dog? Hey? He doesn't care too much right now. But don't ever trust him all the way. Okay, what I got here is a nice slab of pot roast meat. And I'm going to singe it on both sides for about, I don't know, 30-40 seconds on each side, and then get ready for the next stage. Oh yeah, that fits perfect. What do you think, Dakota? He thinks you're eating good tonight. Okay. A little more. Sorry about that. A little more. Oh yeah, that's what I want. And we're going to pull the Dutch oven off and go set it over on here, one on these rocks. And then I'm going to go get some broth and some onions and get ready to add it in there. Okay, what I'm going to add now is I put some broth in there with it. Starting to simmer already. And I'm going to add these onions. And this is not so easy to do, holding the phone in one hand, but we will figure a way out. Okay, here we go. Okay, that's one big sweet onion. Yellow onion's fine, but I like the Vidalia onions. Okay, now I'm going to let it come up to a boil. And I'm going to put the lid on it. Then I'm probably going to pull the Dutch oven off the fire for a while. Let these coals get a little lower because they're still pretty big. Stir them out, get a hole in the middle so the heat's more to the sides. Okay, I just seasoned it up a little bit with Rollins good stuff. And I'm going to put the lid on it. And then I'm going to take it off for a while. Let these coals get right. Okay, what I'm doing now is trying to make myself a little donut hole down here in these coals so I get down to that rock. Trying to make the heat come more for the sides. This Dutch oven is a dome type, so I can't put the coals on top of it like you can with some others. But since we're cooking in the broth, it's okay just to have the type we're using. Okay, I got it sitting there with the coals scraped out. We're going to let it go for a good half hour, 40 minutes, but we're going to flip it over about, I don't know, every 10-12 minutes, just to make sure it's not cooking too fast. And if it's starting to bubble too much and cook too hard, I'll take it off and put it back on again. With all this snow on the ground and sunset's coming, I don't want to end up being out here in the dark trying to cook this thing. From this angle here, you can pretty well see the distance I got down to the coals. It's a good 10 inches or so, but it's simmering away real good right now. Okay, I just flipped it over, but you notice I laid it on top of all those onions, which is kind of a little bit of a buffer for that heat, but it'll also make those onions cook real good into that piece of meat. Okay, this has been simmering away for about 30-40 minutes. So the next step, this is kind of the secret. I'm going to pull that steak out and throw it down on top of that grill. Flip each side twice, 5 minutes each, and call it done. Okay, so now we got it sitting there on the grill. All those onions and juices and everything from the bacon grease and the bouillon, and it's all mixed together, and that's going to be made into some gravy. I'm going to let this go just like cooking a steak on the grill now. So it's going to be kind of like a pot roast and kind of like a grilled steak. So I just moved a lot of those coals from the outside of the pit, put them back in the middle again so they're focusing on that meat. I'll let this go for, like I said, 5 minutes aside. Okay, I've done it 5 minutes on each side. Then what I'm going to do is put my little Smoky Joe lid on it for a couple minutes on each side, and then we're going to call it done. Works perfect. Okay, it's been 5 minutes on each side with the smoker on it, so I think we're just going to call it done and take it over to our little bench over here. Oh yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay. Oh, I can't do this with my hand on the phone and the meat too, so I'm going to turn it off and put it back over where I'm going to cut it up at. Okay, this is where I like to call a poor man's prime rib. I'll see if I can't do this one-handed. Oh yeah. Nice and juicy. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Well, I'll tell you what, when my forefathers homesteaded Colorado back in 1870, they came from Ireland and they went to Missouri, and then they came up here for the Homestead Act. And I bet they didn't have much more than a Dutch oven, a skillet, maybe a couple saucepans in their wagon. So every time I do things like this, I think of them fondly. Hope you enjoyed it. See you later.